Hello again and welcome to the Warrington Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now before we get into today's video, I would like to say a huge thank you to Evan Ellis for sending in some awesome pictures of his Imperial Guard Infantry Swarm army. I absolutely love this kind of army, just rank upon rank of infantry charging the enemy down, lasgun bolts, bayonets and blood. That's all you need to beat the enemies of the Imperium. Now if anyone else has got any cool pictures they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. Now these pictures are actually really good because they're really fitting for the topic we're going to be discussing today, which is how to run a 300 model Imperial Guard infantry army. Do you like the idea of just absolutely overwhelming the enemy with just unending numbers of guard? Well then this is the list for you. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go through how to build the list, some tactics surrounding it, and then also some ideas you can have for actually how to get the models together for a list like this. So first things first, let's go through the actual army. Now what you want to do, guys, is you want to run 3 battalions, and those battalions are all going to be fairly similarly structured. They're going to be quite a homogeneous army. So the first battalion is going to have 5 infantry squads in it. Now the way I've equipped these infantry squads is all identically, and I've given each one a plasma gun and a missile launcher. Now the reason I've gone for those is they're actually probably some of the most points efficient choices you can go for your guard these days. Plasma's always really good, it's extremely versatile, it's only 7 points when you put it on a regular ballistic skill 4+ model like a guardsman, and the missile launcher, since the latest chapter approved, has gone down to 10 points. It's kind of mad. There's no reason not to run the missile launcher these days. When you do the math hammer on it, the equivalent points in missile launchers actually does better against vehicles than heavy bolters do, and it does better against Primaris than heavy bolters do. The only area where the heavy bolter actually wins out is against light infantry models, and even then it's pretty close. So previous advice from me has always been you want to be running heavy bolters in your squad. Strength 5 is that sweet spot. Now point for point, when I've done the math hammer, it works out that you might as well go for the missile launcher this time. It's only a 2-point difference. You then also want to be giving your sergeant a bolter. Quite frankly, guys, it's 1 point for a bolter on a sergeant, and you're going to be running a lot of infantry squads, so you're going to get a lot of bolters, and it means that the whole squad is operating in a very similar threat range. Everyone is running a weapon that's 24-inch range, apart from one guy who's got the missile launcher. Don't forget, even though you form the heavy weapon team from 2 guys in a squad, you don't lose one of the lasguns. One guy has the missile launcher and the loader still gets to keep his lasgun. He still gets to shoot that. So that's a nice little tip for you guys. So you've got 5 of these squads. You then, which is a nice, 50 bodies. Now some of you might say, what about taking 6 infantry squads? You can get 6 troop choices in a battalion. Well, you could do that, but what you actually want to do is take a unit of conscripts. Okay, and you want to take a max size unit of 30 conscripts. Now I know what a lot of you are saying, which is, but conscripts are useless. And they are not the most optimum choice when taken on their own. But when you're running an army which is looking to max out all its troop slots, if you just take infantry squads, the maximum number of troops you can get is 180. Just basic troops, 180. And that's not really enough anymore. In 8th edition now, its power creep has happened, inevitably as it would, and 180 bodies isn't really enough. Most marine armies and competitive armies out there will be removing about 50 models a turn from turn 1, and maybe turn 2 because there has to be a bit of closing the distance, but it's not really enough. So you want to take the conscripts because they're just a huge mass of bodies and they can serve many different tactical functions. You can just have them as expendable. You just throw them in there and the enemy has to chew through them. And what we're going to look at today, guys, some of the tactics I'll talk about, is how you can make sure those conscripts stick around, because typically that leadership 5 isn't going to help you. So you take those 30 conscripts, so instead of getting 60 basic infantry from one of your battalions, you actually get to run 80. 50 line infantry, 50 infantry squad, 50 infantry squad guys, and 30 from the conscripts. Then you want to look at veterans. Now, veterans, a lot of people don't like them because they don't have a lot of great delivery systems, unlike stormtroopers, which you can take in 5-man squads, put 2 special weapons and deep strike them in. Veterans don't have that option. Normally people think about trying to transport them in on chimeras or Valkyries, but we're not looking for our veterans to do that. Quite frankly, all we really want from our veterans is to be an additional 10 bodies. They're only 1 point more than a regular infantry guy now, and they also can be a bit of a submarine unit. So when you've got so many bodies on the board, it can be a bit tricky for your opponent to work out where the 3 veteran squads are, or he may not even care. They're not going to be a particularly high priority. So taking 10 foot veterans is absolutely fine. If they get wasted in turn 1, whatever, you're basically treating them like an extra infantry squad. You don't care. Now, how you outfit these guys is you want to keep them cheap. Like, they are foot veterans. A savvy opponent will, if you dole them out with all the plasma and the las cannons, it's going to put the price of the unit through the roof, and a savvy opponent will take one look at them and wipe them off the board. You don't want to do that. Instead, a really good way of running these veterans is to have them with 3 grenade launchers, a bolter on the sergeant again, and an autocannon or missile launcher. Your choice, 10-point weapon. Now, the reason I would normally go for something like an autocannon is simply because, and the reason you're taking the autocannon and the grenade launchers is because it reduces the threat level of the unit in your opponent's mind eye. Your opponent's going to be seeing infantry squads bristling with missile launchers of plasma, and he's going to be like, gotta kill them. Your veterans, on the other hand, they've only got grenade launchers and an autocannon. In your opponent's eye, they're not particularly high damage weapons. However, when you've got 3 veteran squads and they've got 3 grenade launchers each, that's 9 crack rounds. You then add on top of that the 3 autocannons, that's another 6 strength 7, AP -1, damage 2 weapons. That's actually from just 3 cheap units. Each one of those units is only 70 points. Dirt cheap. So for 210 points, you have 30 infantry, which are putting out 9 strength 6 AP -1 damage D3, so on average 2 damage per shot, and then another 6 strength 7 AP -1 damage 2 shots. That's 15 shots. Okay, and they're all anti-Primaris shots. They're all AP -1, so they're going to be making the Primaris fail those saves on 4-ups, and they're all an average of damage 2, which means every one that you get through is a dead Primaris. And you will be surprised if your veterans are low priority and they're able to just get those grenade launchers going, pom pom pom, get those autocannons going every single turn. You'll be surprised how quickly they rack up those kills. And by the time your opponent has realised what's been hammering those crack rounds into him, he's probably already too late, because it puts your opponent in a really difficult choice. He either has to clear out all your plasma, which is going to be the obvious threat, or he's got to leave those veterans to just do their thing. Either way, it puts your opponent in a tricky situation. If he doesn't kill the veterans, then loads of crack rounds. If he does kill them, he's getting hit by plasma. Not good for him either way. So now, in one of these battalions, we're up to 90 guys. Now, that's a lot of line infantry. That's all the line infantry that you really need. What you then want to be thinking about is a little bit of specialists and support characters. So you want to take a squad of mortars, heavy weapon teams. Now, I know a lot of people raise an eyebrow here and go, but mortars, they've got such a points increase. They're 9 points for a mortar now. Why would you take that? Why wouldn't you go for the missile launcher? It's quite simple, guys. You want the indirect fire. You have to have indirect fire in games, especially in ITC games, where there's things such as magic boxes, or I can't tell you, even just a normal standard 40k game, I can't tell you the number of times when my opponent has just had a sneaky backfield unit holding one of their objectives, and because I didn't take any mortars, I didn't give myself any way of digging it out. So you want to take 3. You want to take one of those squads for your battalion. Then, in terms of support characters, you're definitely going to want to take a company commander. You need the orders. You're definitely going to want to take a platoon commander. Same reason. Keep them cheap. No upgrades on them. I wouldn't bother with. Maybe a bolter on each one if you really want. You want to take a Lord Commissar. Again, you want to give him a bolter and a power sword. And then you want to take an astropath. Now, you want to take the astropath for a couple of reasons. First reason is you're going to want access to the power mental fortitude, which is an Imperial Guard target power which no one ever normally takes. Okay, no one normally takes it, but it's only a warp charge value of 4, so it's super easy to cast. And if you get it off successfully, it makes a unit fearless. Well, hello 30-man conscript blob. Suddenly, you're not totally rubbish anymore. You're just able to remain fearless, and astropaths in the latest chapter proved have come down from 30 points back down to their original 15 points. So it's a no-brainer, guys. A lot of people say, oh, but what about conscripts being 4 points per model? Well, conscripts went up to 4 points per model, but you're not worrying about having to take a commissar to babysit them anymore, and your astropaths have come down. So actually, when you think about it, your conscripts have actually, if you compare them to the sort of start of 8th edition, your conscripts are actually the same price where they were. Because you used to spend 3 points per conscript, and then you had to buy a commissar. And don't forget, guys, at the beginning of 8th, the commissars were something ridiculous, like 70 points. They were crazy. Okay, so now your Lord Commissars have come down by a point each, come down by half points, that's 35 points. Your astropaths are back to 15 points, and your conscripts are 4 points per model, but when you average it all out, you're only spending the same amount as you would have done, on 30 conscripts. So, yes, your conscripts don't accept orders very well, but you know what's crazy? Conscripts were never there to do damage, they were just there to be bodies that you could pile onto the objective and make them fearless. You've got that ability back now, which is great. So, when you add so that's the first reason you want to take your astropath. The second reason is actually really important. Is the astropaths have an ability called astral divination, and you select an enemy unit within 18 inches, and then all friendly Astro Militarum units that are within 6 inches of that astropath can ignore cover against that designated enemy unit, which is huge. Trying to dig Marines out of cover, and I keep referring to Marines because they are the baseline army, and they're also, for 40k, they're also super competitive at the moment. Trying to dig Primaris Marines out of cover is difficult if you don't bring the right tools for the job. And so, just being able to remove cover is a really, really big bonus. Really, really big. Your opponent, if you go first, your opponent might do something like prepared defenses, prepared positions. Well, doesn't matter anymore, buddy. Doesn't matter anymore. And it's just a really good little power. So that's actually probably the main reason you're taking them. So that is, when you add all that up, that's one of your detachments. That's exactly 100 guys. Now, if we add up the points for that now, and I'll do it live. So if we do the points now, you do 58 points for each infantry squad, because it's 40, plus 10 for the missile launcher, plus 7 for the plasma, plus 1 for the bolter. You're taking 5 of those for the battalion. Then you're taking 30 conscripts, which are 4 points each, so that's 120 points. Then you're taking your veteran squad, which is 70 points, 50, plus 10 for the missile launcher, plus 9 for the grenade launcher, plus 1 for the bolter. And then you're taking the so that puts you up to 90 guys. Then you're taking your heavy weapon squad with the 3 mortars. That's 45 points. Then you're taking your officer with a bolter, your senior officer with a bolter, your platoon commander with a bolter, your Lord Commissar with a power sword and bolter, and your astropath with a las pistol. And you put all that together, and it is 627 points. Not bad. And then, quite simply, guys, you've got exactly 100 guys. You've spent 627 points. Quite simply, you just take 3 of those battalions. Identical. And when you do that, the total points for your 300-man army is 1,881. So you've still got 119 points to flavour your army with. That is really nice. Now, what you want to do now, guys, is you actually want to take an Inquisitor. Okay? And it's just a basic bog standard Inquisitor. You don't need to give him any upgrades or anything. And that should cost you about 55 to 60 points. So you're still left with about 60 points left over after that. Now the reason you're taking that Inquisitor is they also have access to a psychic power. Now, which is very, very similar to the Imperial Guard one, called Mental Fortitude. So it is exactly the same thing. It costs the same warp charge. But because it's got a different name, it's a totally different psychic power. Now, because of that, what that means is you can cast your Imperial Guard auto-pass psychic power on auto-pass morale psychic power on one of your conscript blobs, and then your Inquisitor can do exactly the same thing on another one of your conscript blobs. And then you've got your third conscript blob, and the way you make them fearless is you just spend 2 CP on them if you need to. You may not need to, but if you do, you spend 2 command points. And that is, there's a stratagem in the main rulebook, 2 command points auto-pass morale test. And that means you have all your conscripts back to being fearless, and you haven't had to take anything like Valhalla or anything like that. So you're not locking yourself into a particular regiment trait you might not want to. And this is the great thing about this army. We've got enough points left over that you can season it for any kind of regiment that you want. Do you want to take Cadian and have access to Creed so you can get even more orders? Because you're going to be running a lot of infantry, you're going to need a lot of orders. You can do that. You want to take Catachan, maybe run Harker, give a lot of free reroll ones. You can do that. You want to take any of the other regiments, don't have special characters. Maybe you want Steel Legion for some 18-inch rapid fire goodness. You could do that. You could go Mordian. Works fine with the Mordian because everyone's going to have extra leadership, which is always going to be useful because you're not going to be able to get all your commissars everywhere that you need them all the time. You could then also, you could go for Destroyer and just have the extra range in everyone. That's always useful. Affects all your plasma, all your bolters, all your las guns, all your heavy weapons. Destroying's really tasty with this list. You could go Valhalla and just be like, I don't care about morale. Screw morale. I'm just going to be taking half morale damage all the time. Talan, super mobile list. Super mobile list with Talan. You can move and advance and still shoot. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure there's probably one regiment that I've missed, but I've covered most of them. You could go into how I would run this though. If I was running this as neither Catachan or Cajun or Mordian, if I was running this as any of the other regiments or a custom regiment, then I would probably spend my last 60 points on some regular commissars. And the reason I would do that is you want to get as much leadership as possible. A regular commissar is only 15 points. You've got to give him a bolter or a bolt pistol. You don't have to give him a power weapon if you don't want to. Don't have to. So you just give him a bolter and 16 points, and he gives everyone around him leadership 8. Your basic guardsmen are only leadership 7. So I wouldn't worry about. So you don't want to be relying upon that. You're going to take a lot of morale damage. So it's worthwhile getting some basic commissars just to boost everyone up to either leadership 9 because they're in range of the Lord Commissar, or leadership 8 because they're in range of the regular Commissar. The only reason I say don't bother with Catachan is because if they're within 6 inches of an officer, they get +1 leadership anyway. And Mordian, again, they get +1 leadership most of the time. And I said not Cadian because you'll probably want to go for Creed for the extra orders instead. Now, if I was actually running this with a custom regiment trait, and I would probably actually recommend running this 300 man army with a custom regiment trait, I would go for the custom regiment trait which is from the Greater Good, with wilderness survival, so all your guys count as being in cover as long as they don't advance, which is going to massively increase the durability of your army. 16% if the enemy doesn't have ignore cover, so if they're not Imperial Fists, then you've just got a 16% increase in durability against shooting. Nice. And then you also want to go for the skilled marksman trait, which, if I remember the name correctly, is the one that gives you an 18-inch rapid fire. If you are going to choose Steel Legion from the main book, you might as well choose the custom trait instead, because then you get both bonuses. With the Steel Legion trait, you only get the 18-inch rapid fire in your infantry, and you won't be running any vehicles, so you don't get the ignore AP -1 on vehicle part of that trait. So I wouldn't go for Steel Legion with this list. Instead, I'd take the custom trait. So there you go, guys. That is the list. Now, that's how I would spend my last 120 points, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You could easily not bother with the Inquisitor if you didn't want to, and you could say, you know what, I'm going to accept the fact that I can only auto-pass morale on 2 of my conscript blobs. They are expendable. I don't mind if they die. You could definitely do that. There's no problems with doing that. But when you think about it, your opponent would have to kill like 15, let's say your opponent kills 15 guys from each conscript blob in the first turn. You also pass 2 of them. And on the last squad, it's like, yeah, you've got to take leadership 15, but then you've got your Lord Commissar nearby. So he's going to bring that down really quickly. So you'll lose another 6 plus D6. So you might lose at most another 12. But then you could take that leadership check on a D3, and then the average is you're only going to lose 8 more conscripts. And you didn't even bother taking the Inquisitor. That's actually alright. And if your opponent kills more from one squad than another, then you auto-pass the squad that took more casualties, and you take the risk on the squad that maybe they lost 5 or 6 guys. The reason I said 15 per squad is that would be the worst case scenario. That would be your opponent being quite tactical, trying to make you take the most casualties. He would, if you're playing against a savvy opponent, he would put an equal number of casualties into each conscript blob to make you lose more from morale. That's how you would do it. But if he doesn't do that, and he only focuses on 2, you're gravy. No worries whatsoever. So the great thing about this list is it's flexible. You've got 300 guys there, bang on 300. You've got your 120 points left over. If you decide to, you could save plenty of points. If you go, you know what, I'm spending a lot of points on bolters there. I'm getting 15 bolters for my infantry squads, 3 for the veterans, and I'm spending, another 6 on the officers who don't have to take them. The Lord Commissar does, but the officers don't have to. Then, you know what, that's a lot of points on bolters. That's what, like, 6 plus 3 is 9... plus 15, 24. It's only 24 points on bolters, but you might be like, I really need those points, so you don't bother. You could get rid of the bolters if you wanted to. You could go down the route of, you know what, this list is fantastic at shooting, but it's kind of vulnerable to someone who's really, really close combat orientated. What if someone starts wrapping and trapping units and I'm forced to do some bayonet charge to get myself out of trouble? You could spend your last 120 points on 3 priests. You could buy 3 priests, give everyone +1 attack. You don't even need power weapons. You don't even need power weapons. You can just drown them in bayonet attacks. And if you want to take power weapons, again, you could swap out your bolters. You could drop a few conscripts if you really wanted to. You don't have to stick to that 300-point mantra. You could drop down to maybe 295. Because think of it this way. Every conscript that you drop is a power weapon that you can afford. That's pretty nice. I mean, how you could, if we were to explore that route just a little bit more, rather than just doing it theorycraft, let's actually get into the points a little bit more, which is, if you were to do every single one of your infantry squads with a power weapon as well, then that would boot, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to take a bolter and a power weapon on every single one of my squads. I'm just decking my squads out to the 9s. That makes it 64 points per squad. No, that's not right. 62 points per squad. Sorry. So you're taking 5 of those in your battalion. Then you're taking your 30 conscripts. Then you're taking your veterans with the bolter. Wouldn't bother putting a power weapon on the veterans. Their job is to sit back on objectives, hold them, and provide long-range fire support. That's why they've not got rapid fire weapons on the special weapons. And then you've got your heavy weapon team with the mortars, and then you've got your characters. So that's officer with bolter, junior officer with bolter, Lord Commissar, astropath, and then you're like, you know what, I want to take a priest as well. If you were to do that, and you took 3 of those battalions, you're looking at 2,046 points. Now, you could just drop 12 conscripts and you're back in the game. That's not bad at all. You might not... That's if you give every single squad a power weapon. You don't need to. You know, you might realistically think, well, I'll put power weapons on half of them. I'll put power weapons on 2/3 of them. I'll put power weapons on 10 squads. You know, if you do that and you drop the bolters, you're under points again already. So my point is that the great thing about this list is it's flexible, and the way you flex it is with you give and take the number of conscripts. So if you're like, you know what, I want to include, I'm happy to play around the 290, 280 man mark, then because I want to take more upgrades on my other squads, maybe I want to take some command squads or something instead, that's fine. Just drop the conscripts down a little bit. I would say you don't want to drop below 280 guys when you're running this kind of list, because once you do that, then you're really watering your conscript blobs down and you're making them less efficient. So if it was up to me, I would go, I'm going to drop a few conscripts and the bolters across the army to take the power weapons, because because I just think the bolters are good, but they're not essential bits of equipment, and the power weapons do give you quite a bit of tactical flexibility. There are plenty of armies out there which will be able to get up close and personal with you and stop you from falling back, or make it difficult for you to fall back. And there's those times when it's the last turn of the game, you don't want to fall back because you're on an objective and you need to push the opponent off that. In times like that, you really wish you had your power weapons, because you want to be able to charge in and cut through enemy armour. Because, as you know, making a Marine take a save on a 3+, or making a Marine take a save on a 6+, for the sake of 4-point power sword, you definitely want to consider that power weapon. They're so cheap now, there's no excuse not to take them. So that would be how I would look at it if I was to tweak the list. If you know you're going to be facing a lot of close combat, or you want to ensure against it, drop the bolters, drop 5 or 6 conscripts, take the priests, take the power weapons. Don't worry so much about your conscripts running away. You can jiggle it around. You can jiggle it around. So there we go, guys. Now that's all I would say in terms of list building. Let's assume you've gone for the 300-point army and you've seasoned it how you wish. Some basic tactics for it, quite frankly, well, you're just going to swarm the board, but you never want to not be advancing. You're always going to want to be advancing, and by advancing I just mean moving forward, not actually physically rolling the advance roll. You're going to want to always be pushing some units up the field, because whilst this seems like a very gun line shooty army, it definitely isn't. The vast majority of your weapons are in a 24-inch range bracket, and most of those are rapid fire weapons. So even if you took the 18-inch rapid fire trait from Greater Good, you're still going to want to be pushing up to get into range with that. What you want to be doing is you guys that you want to be clogging up the centre of the board with are your conscripts. They want to go in first. You want to make them fearless, and you want to be sending them into the middle of the board and just making them just an absolute nightmare. Your opponent's going to have to tear through 90 fearless bodies before he even gets to the good stuff. Especially if he's a combat army, that is going to be horrendous for him to do. It's going to take him. It could take him 2 turns to do that. Even if it takes him 1 turn, it's 1 turn where he's chewed through a bunch of bloody conscripts. You know, and you're auto-passing them, and you're just making them a horrendous thing for him to deal with. And don't forget, you've got 3 Astropaths, so you've got another Astropath that can cast -1 Night Shroud, -1 to hit on them. You've got another Astropath that can give them +1 save. So you could have a blob or two of conscripts, which are -1 to hit. They've got +1 save from psychic barrier. Then you start using take cover stratagem from 1 CP to give them another +1 armor save to them. Those conscripts are suddenly clogging up the board, and they're an absolute nightmare for your opponent to get rid of. Absolute nightmare. So whilst those guys are whilst your conscripts are clogging the board, you want to be moving your regular infantry squads forward. Now you probably want to use a technique called the conga line. Now what you do is you keep the heavy weapon team still and you move the rest of the infantry forward, but you conga line 1 or 2 guys backwards so that they maintain unit coherency. And the reason you do that is your heavy weapon team then technically hasn't moved, so it gets to shoot at full ballistic skill, and the rest of your guys have moved forward and managed to take some ground, which you always want to be doing. Because with this kind of list, if you sit still too long, you'll find that you'll be trying to rush around trying to grab objectives at the end of the game. You don't want to be doing that. And then you can realistically conga line for 2 turns before your units start getting strung out way too much, and then you've got to start moving the heavy weapons. But that's 2 turns of 15 missile launchers shooting at full ballistic skill. That's 30 cracked rockets. And then you've also got your don't forget you've got your veterans and your mortars at the back. Now their job is going to be to sit on objectives and just sit on the backfield and just provide fire support, and they don't need to move any closer because the grenade launchers, whether they're 1 inch away or 24 inches away, they've got one shot, crack shot, and you don't really need to worry about the frag shot. You've got so many las guns, I wouldn't worry about trying, about frag. And then you also counter the same deal. So when you think about that, so you just keep pushing forward, and you keep doing 2 turns of conga line, then you bring the missile launch teams up, and then you do another turn of conga line, then you bring the missile launch teams up, and you just keep doing that. So realistically, you're only going to have maybe 2 turns per infantry squad where the heavy weapon's going to have to move, maybe 3. So, and that's only at first. I would say 2 turns. I'd say you want to move forward for the first 2. Turn 3, you bring it, you unconga line your missile launchers, and then at that point, guys, you're probably in the middle of the board, absolutely swarming it. You control over half of the board. You're breaking through on flanks, or you're leaking through the middle, and your opponent can't control you guys. And the great thing about Guard is you're a shooting army. So unlike other horde armies, which have to try and close the distance, and they've got terrible force concentration because they're all spread out, with Guard we don't care. When you've got an 18-inch rapid fire, you really don't care, because you've got great force concentration, because you've got every turn you have a 24-inch range threat range, because you've got your 6-inch movement and your 18-inch rapid fire. That's when you're most efficient. It's mad, absolutely mad. Now most of the time you're going to be wanting to use the order first rank fire, second rank fire. And some of you might say, well, what about overcharging plasma? Now, I'll be honest, guys, when you're running 15 plasma guns, I wouldn't worry too much about overcharging and killing yourself. Yeah, you'll probably lose 1 or 2 guys a turn to overcharge. But you don't have to overcharge. And you can always, if you're not in rapid fire range, I would do take aim to get the reroll 1s. And when you get into rapid fire range, I just go for maximum damage. I just be like first rank fire, second rank fire, every squad, every turn. Just do it. Just go bonkers. For your conscripts, don't worry about them. Don't worry about giving them orders. They're going to be happily at 18 inches, holding the trigger down, just hosing enemies down. Again, get it through your head with these conscripts, guys. They're not there to do damage. They're there to clog the centre of the board up, to really annoy any assault opponents, and to just board control. And your opponent's got to chew through 90 bodies, 90 shite bodies before he even gets to the 180, 15 line squads and 3 veteran squads, good bodies. Put it that way. He's got 2/3 as many good bodies to get through as the shocking bodies. So, there we go. Now, I did say I would give a couple of tips on how you could even amass a force like this. Well, there are a couple of places you're going to want to check. So the first one is if you buy it all brand new from Games Workshop and you buy them all as the multi-part guardsman, you're probably going to have to take out multiple mortgages or win the lottery. I mean, it's going to cost you an absolute fortune. Okay. My advice would be if you're going to buy all the models new, then you're going to want to love the snap fit guardsman. Now, those of you some of you new players will be like, what's snap fit? Well, it was kind of the precursor to the easy to build. So if you know how you have easy to build intercessors and easy to build poxwalkers and plague marines and redemption dreadnoughts, well, before that, Games Workshop called it snap fit. It's pretty much exactly the same thing, and you can buy them. You can buy a box of 5 guardsmen, and they've just got las guns, and there's only like 2 or 3 poses available to the models, and it comes with the full legs, body, head, and one of the arms in one piece. That's a one piece, one mould guardsman. And then on the second bit of the model is the las gun and one of the other arms. And there's a socket in the chest, and you just push that las gun in, and you've got a guardsman. It takes two seconds to build them. And unlike having, with the regular guardsman, you have to pay £20 for 10 guys. With the snapfit guys, even when you buy them brand new from Games Workshop, it's only £6 for 5 guys. Now, again, you don't have to buy it all directly from Games Workshop. You could use third-party retailers. There are absolutely loads of them out there. You've got the War Store in America. There's loads of other ones. That's just the one off the top of my head. I think they can be a bit iffy with delivery times, but when you're getting it 20% off, it's not too bad. In the UK, I've used Triple Helix Games. Again, they normally take about 2 weeks to get something out to you, but they offer 25% off, which is big. So you £6 for your 5 guardsmen becomes £4.50 for 5 guardsmen. So the one and only time you're going to get less than £1 per model from GW these days, or for GW products these days. So already you're saving boatloads of money. So you're going to want to buy a load of them. And what you're going to want, you're still going to want some of the multi-part guardsmen, but you're going to want those exclusively for sergeants and for special weapon guys. Now, some of you again might be going, well, you want to run a lot of plasma guns, Mordian Glory. How the hell do you propose where I get those plasma guns from? I've either got to buy those old metal blister packs with one plasma gun, one melter gun guy, or I get one plasma gun in the command squad box. What do you want to do? Don't worry. Again, there are plenty of third-party people you can buy them from. You can buy individual resin plasma guns from places like Anvil Industries, or if you want to run all Games Workshop because you like to go to Games Workshop events and play in local GW, then you can actually buy sets of 5 plasma guns from Games Workshop, and you can get 5 plasma guns for £6. So you only need 3 packs of them. That's your 15 individual plasma guns for £18. Easy. You don't have to buy loads of command boxes at all. So if you're looking for them, they're meant to be for Space Marines, but they fit perfectly on Guardsmen, so don't worry about it at all. I know loads of people which have used them for conversions. Loads of them. In fact, if you want some examples of it, go back a few videos, find the Gene Stealer Cult versus Scion video, and the guy I play in that, James, he's used those plasma guns on his Scions for the Scion conversion. So you can have a look at them if you want to get an idea of what it'll look like. And you might say, and you can use those multi-part guys. You don't have to buy any command squad boxes if you don't want to. I mean, you can do, but if you look at the army, I'm not making you buy anything I'm not making you buy any models, or there's no models in the army that require the command squad. Officers, you can just build with las pistol and chainsword from the basic multi-part guardsman kit. You may want to differentiate them with a slightly different colour scheme, different coloured shoulder pads, or you might want to give them some fancy hats, in which case go and do a head swap. Again, Anvil Industry do loads of parade ground caps, balaclavas, bald heads, everything. Loads of third-party bits. Differentiate them over there. And if you're looking for power weapons, well, if you decide to go down the power weapon route, then that might be a little trickier. Not going to lie. And again, with the bolter route, if you're like, when am I going to get my bolters from? Then there's two ways I'd recommend. You can either buy them third party again, but at this point you're buying a lot of third party bits, so the price is going to wiggle around a bit. Or borrow, swap, trade. Ask for your mates. Loads of your mates who have Marines have every single Marine box comes with a power sword in some variety or another. You can go on eBay and just buy loads of power swords, but honestly, most people will be happy to trade some bits with you or give some bits. When you're building all these guys, you're going to have a lot of bits left over as well. To be fair, you're going to have lots of bits left over as well. So you can trade loads and loads of stuff, loads and loads of bits. Now, the main cost, realistically, is going to be in the heavy weapon teams. That is a tricky one. That is a doozy. Now, there's a couple of ways you can get around it. Firstly, if instead of buying the multi-part guardsman kit, go and buy the multi-part Brood Brother kit. Okay, so Brood Brothers are for Genestealer, and they're basically the Cadians, which have got the Genestealer heads. Now, when you buy that box, it comes with all the normal Cadian bits, and then just some head swap sprues for your Cadian heads. But it also comes with the heavy weapon team, and that box is £25 for those 10 guys. So it's only £5 more. If you get that from a third party retailer with 25% off, you're looking at about £18-19. You can easily sell the Genestealer sprue for like a £5. You bring it down to £14, and you can also sell the heavy weapon bits that you don't use. You can easily convert missile launchers to go on people's shoulders, so you don't have to use the. There's loads of conversion videos out there to do that, and you've got autocannons in there as well. So you might not want to take, in terms of saving money, you might want to be like, okay, I'm going to take an equal amount of autocannons and missile launchers, and that way I can use more bits from the kit, because then you'll use autocannon bits, missile launcher bits, and then your mortar bits for your mortar heavy weapon teams. And then again, you can trade the other heavy weapons that you don't need, your las cannons, your heavy bolters. You can trade those. You can sell those bits. People are always looking to sell them, looking for more las cannon bits and stuff. So you can always do that. Your other option again is to look at the third party route. There are third party companies out there which will sell you an individual heavy weapon that you might need. So you want to look at that as well. And last but not least, look at eBay. I mean, you can go at eBay is full of people trying to sell pro painted models. Just ignore them. If you go through eBay enough and you trawl through enough posts and you check it every couple of days and you just skim the top of eBay, you will find every couple of days, maybe once a week, somebody posts a full army or loads of just like 30-40 infantry. Sometimes it's all Catachan, plastic shitty Catachans. You don't care. You just want bodies. You can repaint them. You don't care what the paint job is. You can fix them up if they're a bit broken. It doesn't matter. But if you're careful enough with eBay, I've seen full armies of 50, 60 guys and some tanks and bits go for like 40, 50 quid. And you just relist the bits you don't want. Someone's always going to buy a Lehman Russell if you're getting it as part of a deal, part of a bundle of stuff you'd find on eBay. So that's what I would do. And there's always, as well, there's plenty of people that are always looking to leave the hobby. Imperial Guard are one of the armies that actually has quite a high attrition rate, because people buy it, realise, oh fuck, this is a lot of models I'm going to have to paint up, even for a normal Guard army. They get disheartened and sell it. So there's always someone selling an Imperial Guard army, and you can just get the bits you want off them. So there you go, guys. That is pretty comprehensive. Every little aspect of if you want to collect a 300-man Imperial Guard army. Pure infantry, no Bulgrins, no special soldiers whatsoever. I've gone through the list. I've spoken about some of the tactics, basic tactics you want to use, and then also how you can actually get these models together. Now, if anyone is interested in me doing some more in-depth tactics on how to run pure infantry, put it down in the comment section below. Let me know. If it's a quick question, I'll answer it in the comment section. If you if it's a big question, I might do, or if people really want it, I'll do some more bespoke videos on pure infantry tactics. Then I am a pure infantry guard commander. I love using my pure infantry guard every opportunity that I get. I have done pure infantry tactics before, but they're sort of end of 7th, beginning of 8th edition, so they're a little bit out of date. So I'm more than happy to reiterate some of those, go over them again, and bring them up to date for the current meta that we find ourselves in. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there because that's a really long video. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like I said, any questions, any video ideas, anything you're not sure about, please put it down in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.